Hi, this is Sasha from Formation and Editing Laboratory. I'm a video editor and visual effects artist here in New York, and most of my work are TV commercials. A few months ago I was approached by advertising agency to do 2 commercials for Webster Bank. It was very challenging and complex project, and I would like to show you how I have done it. First, here is a final spot.
We at Webster have a check card that does it all. It speeds up your purchases, both large and small. It lets you pay bills for free when you bank online. It racks up reward points for a trip to Sunshine. ATMs are free, even at other banks. The perk for our customers to whom we give thanks. How do you get this check card that's perfect through and through? It comes with Webster Premier Checking, where possibilities await you. Open a Webster checking account today and be rewarded.
To do this project I used 3 softwares: Final Cut for editing, Mocha for tracking, and After Effects for compositing. In this tutorial I will go through some parts of process quickly and focus more on the stuff I think is interesting. I will spend more time in Mocha and After Effects than in Final Cut. But before we move to Mocha, I want to show you what I did prior to that. First spot had to be edited and then retimed because raw footage timings did not match durations we needed between flips. To do that, I placed markers on audio voiceover track at the times when flips should happen. And then I marked middle of each flip in the video track. Now I exported XML file from Final Cut Pro and imported into After Effects using Automatic Duck plugin. In After Effects I used the time remap function to synchronize flips with voiceover. Also in After Effects I did the color correction of the spot and I did the cleanup of footage. We had some people walking in the background, birds flying, and scoreboard needed to be corrected. After all of that is done, I rendered QuickTime files from After Effects, which will be used in Mocha for tracking. Now let's go to Mocha and start tracking. First we're going to import file. I usually export a little bit more than what I need just to make sure that I have all frames in. In this case we have 1 frame extra at the beginning, so I'm going to move 1 frame forward and mark in point. Now I'm going to select the X-spline tool and I'm going to select first marker on the first board. I'm gonna select add X-spline to layer, which will add another spline to the same layer. So and I'm gonna select second marker. We're gonna do same thing with the third one. And with the fourth one. So this is our first layer and we just selected 4 markers on the board. I'm gonna select that layer, click on perspective and change the name of the layer to 0101, which means this is first board, first flip, because in this shot we had 2 flips, and naming things properly will help us later in After Effects. To move through the project in more efficient way, I decided to track multiple planes at the same time. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna duplicate first layer 5 times. I'm gonna click on layer 2, select all splines and then slide into second board. Splines should match markers perfectly because boards are same size and markers are at the same place on the boards, so that should work in most cases. I'm gonna change the name of the layer to 0201, meaning second board first flip. I'm gonna click on layer 3, select splines, move them to third board, change the name of the layer to 0301, click on layer 4, select, move to the fourth board. Now in some cases maybe a little adjustment is necessary because boards are sometimes in a little bit different perspective. So we're going to select this spline and just move it a little bit so we cover clearly marker. I'm going to change the layer 4 to 0401. I'm going to select layer 5, move to fifth board, and sixth layer will go to sixth board. Change the name to 0601. While working on this project, in some cases I was tracking 12 layers at the same time. Tracking multiple layers slows down Mocha a little bit, so I didn't go more than 12 layers. For this tutorial we're going to do 6. Now I'm going to press track forward and Mocha will start tracking. Mocha will take a few moments to track this, so I will be back when it's almost done. So here we're coming in the section where flips are happening. Mocha will lose the track at this point, but that's okay. I'm gonna stop this now and go back a little bit. I'm gonna select first layer, click on surface, and select corners of the board. Surface actually is an area which is going to be replaced with image in After Effects. I did select a little bit more than what I needed because we're going to have some motion blur and we're going to apply that in After Effects. So right now I'm going to lock all layers except first one. I'm going to turn visibility also and tracking also. Okay, now we have selected just first layer. I'm going to zoom a little bit so we see better what we're doing. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to adjust track slightly. I mean, Mocha did excellent job, and in most cases I didn't need to adjust anything, but I just want to show you how that could be done if you need it. Click on Adjust Track. Now we are going to reference 4 corner surface points to different points of the same plane. That will help us to tweak any drifts that could happen in tracking. I'm referencing left lower corner of board to the marker, to the closest marker. I'm gonna do same thing with all 4 corners. As I said before, in most cases I did not have to adjust tracks because Mocha was tracking everything perfectly. And in the case I'm showing you right now, adjustments will be very minimal. Now we are going to click on Set Master All button, which will make this frame our reference frame. If you scroll a little bit, you can see it is pretty good. Okay, we have a small drift here. We can quickly adjust that by selecting one of the points and click Auto. Now I recommend to do that for all 4 points. So it was a really minimal adjustment overall, but our track is pretty solid now. You can see that when we go to the flip section of the shot, we lose the track. I'm going to leave it as it is and adjust those few frames in After Effects. The next step will be to click on the Track tab and export tracking data. Make sure that first layer is selected and that you are exporting After Effects corner pin data. I'm going to save this as 0101, and now we can move to After Effects and start compositing. Here we have same shot. It looks a little bit different because it was color corrected, but it's the same shot. And now we are going to use tracking data from mocha and apply to the first image. But before we do that, let me show you what I did in Photoshop and how I prepared the image for use in After Effects. So here we are in Photoshop. What I did here is I took that high-res Photoshop file which was provided to me by Art Director, and I split it into 24 identical pieces. So I ended up with a Photoshop file with 24 layers, plus I had kept background layer which is full image intact in case I need it. I named each layer according to their position. So this is going to be W01 and this is going to be W02, 03 and so on. Now if we go back into After Effects, I imported that file as a Photoshop composition, so I have access to all individual layers. Then I took first layer and drag and drop it on Create New Composition button. Now if we go back to our main comp, I'm going to take that newly created composition and drop it in timeline. We are going to make sure that new layer starts where our footage starts. Next step will be to take that tracking data from mocha and apply to this layer. So let's go and find that file. This is 0101 text file. Double click on it, then select all and copy. Now we are going back to the After Effects. Make sure that image layer is selected and then paste tracking data. What happened now is we have our layer resized properly and moving how it should be, but it is not in the right place. So what I did is I lowered opacity first and I started moving anchor point until we place this layer into right position. So this is good. It works very well until we come to flip section, when we lose track completely. Now we are going to fix that. First select a layer, go to Effects Control, select Corner Pin Effect. And I'm also going to open Corner Pin keyframes in timeline. Now we're going to start adjusting each corner point individually so it goes into right place. Then we are going to move to the next frame and do it again. This is not big of a problem because flip happened pretty quickly. Usually it was 3 to 5 frames. So that's it. This is where our front part of the board is not visible anymore, so this is end of this layer. I'm going to select layer and press Option right bracket. That will bring end point of the layer to the position bar. Next, I will select all remaining keyframes from Corner Pin Effect and delete it. I'm going to show you one more way how to apply mocha tracking data to the layer. In this case, layer will go to the position automatically without adjusting anchor point. we are going to make new composition with settings of our main comp, and in my case that is DVC Pro HD 720 23.976. I'm going to name that comp W01. Now I'm going to take previously created composition with our image layer and drag and drop into new composition. As you can see, this is much smaller, and our goal is to make this layer same size as our new composition. To do that, we will make sure that layer is selected and then go to Layer, Transform, Fit to Comp. Now, if we go back to our main composition, I will turn off this layer for now, and I'm going to bring the new W01 composition into our main comp. We are going to make sure that this layer starts where our background shot starts. Now we are going to go back to the tracking data layer. Even we have this file already copied, let's do it again. Select all, copy. Now we can paste this data to the layer. So here it is. It goes right into position and it matches movement of the board perfectly. Of course, until we come to the flip section, and here we can go again and adjust corner pin effect manually. This is probably better and more appropriate way of doing this, but why I didn't do it this way is because in this case we had to create one extra composition and rename it, and if you have to do that 168 times, that was just too many extra steps and I didn't have time for that. Now I'm going to delete this layer and I will show you one more thing I did. I felt the images I was putting on the boards were very flat and generic looking, and I wanted to add a little bit more shading and make them a little bit more interesting. So I took 4-color gradient filter and applied to the image. Then I changed the default colors to black and white. Top 2 colors I changed to white, and lower 2 I changed to black. I also changed the blending mode to soft light. Now what I needed to do is to play with color positions until I find the right balance. I wanted to make lower left corner a little bit darker and right top corner a little bit lighter, so it has nice gradient and shading. I can lower opacity a little bit, and that's it. I was trying to match shading and gradation of original footage. As you can see, each board has different shading, so I tried to match that in most cases. Here's that layer with effect and without it. What I did on this one layer, I had to repeat 168 times. I worked 467 hours in 35 days on 2 commercials. It was really long and challenging project, but interesting one. I hope you find this presentation informative, and thank you for your time.